Oh, man, these are the hardest part. All right. Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we are discussing about overeating. How can you prevent yourself from overeating, and also understanding about overeating and asking yourself if you really are actually overeating. Okay, so I'm gonna break this down into three parts for the video. First, we're gonna talk about understanding about overeating. Number two, we're gonna talk about are you really actually overeating, or you might just think you are. And number three, strategies you can implement. So actual things you can start implementing into your diet right now to kind of prevent yourself from overeating, or at least reduce that temptation to overeat. Okay, so first let's understand about overeating. There is nothing wrong with overeating. Okay, so let me please repeat that. There is nothing wrong with overeating. Okay, now it might be limiting you, or slowing you down from your progress towards your fitness goals, but if you overate one day, if you overate 7 days for a whole week, there is nothing wrong with it. Okay, so you have to first understand that there's nothing wrong with it, and you probably haven't done as much damage as you thought you did, because a lot of times people think if they overeat just one meal, they think that they just overnight gain 5 pounds of fat, because that's what it says on a scale, you gain 5 pounds. But most of the time it's probably just water weight, and you just had a lot more food than usual, and that's the reason why the scale might go up. So please just understand that it's okay if you overate. What you want to do is get back on track the next day, right? Don't let this overeating become a habit, right? Once we allow it to become a habit, then you're gonna run into some issues if you're already trying to lose weight. And a lot of these scenarios, when you're overeating, it's stalling your progress and you're plateauing because of it. So first, understanding it is super important if you're actually overeating. So that's the next point I want to get into, is are you actually overeating? Because sometimes you might just be eating a lot in one sitting, right? Now, eating a lot in one sitting doesn't necessarily mean you're overeating. Okay, so remember, you want to think about nutrition as a whole. If you look back at my last video where I talked about you shouldn't look at food as being good or bad, and also stop looking at nutrition through a microscope, go back and watch those videos if you haven't. It's actually going to help you understand this a little better and give you a better perspective on how you should look at nutrition, right? Because whenever you look at nutrition through a little tiny microscope, and instead of through the whole picture, you kind of pinpoint that and think that's the issue, but in reality, you're not really causing any damage to your overall diet. So first, ask yourself, are you actually overeating? Take, for example, right, your caloric intake for the day is 2,000 calories, and you had a really busy day and you only had a small breakfast, and at night you decided to have this huge meal, but you still stay within that 2,000 calorie limit that you're supposed to be at. Technically, you didn't overeat. Understand how much you're eating overall throughout the whole day, and also throughout the whole week. And those two things are really important when it comes to overeating and understanding about your nutrition. Like, once I said again, as a whole, not as a small little piece, but as a whole. And accepting the fact that it's okay to overeat, and if you ever do overeat, it's just about getting back on track the next day or the day after that. Don't guilt yourself into doing more cardio. Don't guilt yourself by any means doing unnecessary things in order to burn those calories. All you have to do is just get back to what you were doing before, and you'll be completely fine. Because there's nothing wrong with burning more calories, doing extra cardio sessions to help offset some of that, but we don't want to allow that to be a habit and allow that to be psychologically affecting us in the future, where we kind of have this relationship with food, and if we think we overate, we want to just do cardio for the heck of it. Do what you normally do, and don't think too much about doing it just because you want to get rid of the stuff you just overate, right? So having the right mindset is super important, okay? And remember, you're in control, okay? You're in control. Now I'm gonna give you guys some strategies, some things you could implement in terms of how you could prevent yourself from overeating, because there are some strategies you could implement. Are you eating because you're hungry, or are you eating because you're just craving some food and you're bored? If you're just bored and you're craving some food, a practical strategy I can give you is just make sure you're busy. Realize the difference between if you're hungry, and also realize the difference between that and if you're actually just craving food. Let's go into the first strategy that I have, is to actually eat more fat over carbs. And you may be asking, why in the world are you telling me to eat more fat, Terry? Well, the reason why is because A lot of times people tend to stay away from fat too much, where their overall intake for fat throughout the whole day ends up being super low, so they feel hungry. The reason why I say more fat is because fat takes longer to digest. If you're intaking more fat overall in your diet, it's gonna help keep you more full throughout the day. Okay, so generally speaking, your fat content should be 20 to 35% of your caloric intake right now. So if you're at that lower end range and you're like 15 to 20% for your fat, try bumping it up. Try bumping up to maybe 30% of your caloric intake to be fat, and maybe even lower the carbs just a little bit. Carbs are great, but it doesn't keep you full for too long. Okay, so actually having more fat throughout your day is important. So we don't want to overconsume our fat for the overall daily intake. But if you actually start incorporating more fat within each meal, it's actually going to be very helpful to keep you full throughout the whole day. Instead of just having all that fat in one sitting, try to spread it out throughout each meal. So every meal has some bit of fat source. Number 2 is increasing your protein intake, especially if you're working out and strength training multiple times a week, 2, 3, 4 times, even 5 times a week. Your protein intake should be higher than what you think you're having. Once again, that protein intake should roughly be around close to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, I'm not gonna go into details with that. I'll have another video where I explain all the breakdown of the macronutrients. I already have one video on that, but I'll redo that video and kind of give you guys more in depth on how to track your calories and how to track your macros. Next, we want to talk about is fiber. Okay, so that's another big one as well. A lot of people, their typical diet doesn't contain a lot of fiber, and fiber is also what keeps us full longer throughout the day. So if your fiber intake is a little low right now, make sure you try to increase that. And some quick options I can give you for fiber intake is anything with whole wheat is going to have a good amount of fiber. Make sure you're eating your fruits like your banana, your apple, your berries. Like all types of fruit have good amount of fiber in it. And also stuff like your oats, and of course your greens and your vegetable. So that's the next thing. That leads me to the next thing you can increase: your greens and your vegetable. This is a low calorie food, but high in water and also high in volume. So whatever you're eating right now, just think about adding a whole bunch of romaine lettuce, spinach, carrots, green peppers, red peppers. It's gonna make the food look a lot more than what it really is. So it's gonna tell your mind already that you're gonna be eating a lot of food. So we always eat with our eyes first. So if you can make the food that you're eating look bigger than what it actually is, then you can actually not really trick your mind, but it kind of tells your mind that you're having a lot of food right now, right? Because we always eat with our eyes. Think about it. When you go to the supermarket, there's a difference when you go to the supermarket hungry and going to the supermarket full. Right? If you go to the supermarket hungry, you're always looking around. You're looking for that stuff you're craving. You can eat with your eyes. You can be like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, but you're not really thinking about what you're actually putting into your cart. Same thing when it comes to having more volume and making your food look bigger than what it actually is. It's gonna tell your mind, hey, this is a lot of food. This really looks good because it's a lot of food, and I'm gonna be satisfied after all this food. So those are 4 things you can increase, right? So your fats, your protein, your fiber, and your greens and vegetables. Next thing, ask yourself, are you being too restrictive? And maybe that's the reason why you end up overeating, because if you're being too restrictive with yourself and you're not allowing yourself to have any type of food that you crave, like let's say maybe a little bit of ice cream, or maybe a cookie here and there, or it might be a slice of pizza. If you're being too restrictive with your food options, it might lead you to overeating. Because, for example, if you restrict yourself too much and all of a sudden you decide to open that restriction, right? All of a sudden you decide to open that restriction and you say, hey, I'm gonna have a cookie today. But because you didn't have a cookie for a couple months, you decide to just have 3 bags of cookies, right? So understand this is if you're really restricting yourself too much. Because if you are, then relook at your nutrition. Try to have a more variety in your diet. Allow yourself to have different types of food. Allow yourself to have those foods that you crave. So if you typically find yourself overeating after dinner, and you tend to eat a lot of desserts after dinner, a good way to prevent yourself from doing that is having a protein shake before that meal. That way you could fill yourself up with a little more protein throughout the day. Remember what I said about protein? If you increase your protein intake It's gonna keep you more full throughout the day because it's very satiating as well. So if you increase that protein intake and also have that shake beforehand, for example, for me, typically after my workouts, I would eat a lot of food. And a good way I could prevent myself from doing that is just having a protein shake or like some type of protein bar before I actually have the actual meal. That way I already have something in my system, so when I actually get to the meal, I'm not thinking about, hey, I need to put all this together, I need to eat all this food. And it kind of, slow you down. That way your mind is not racing to find something that's big and something that's really tasty, and it kind of just slows your mind down. So last thing I have here is just having diet soda, sparkling water, or just water in general before or during your meal. Once again, this is gonna help fill you up, and if you could have more water as you eat, or just some diet soda, some sparkling water. This is a great one, sparkling water, because it's carbonated. So when you're having that carbonated drink, it kind of really, not really bloats your stomach, but it kind of fills up your stomach a little more. So as you're having your food and having something to drink like these, it's really gonna just help you mentally think that you're full. So one other thing you can implement is ask yourself, especially this for people who are craving snacks often, ask yourself if you're willing to replace that snack with a piece of fruit, right? So are you willing to replace the snack you're about to eat with a piece of fruit? And if it's no, then you're probably not that hungry, and you're just craving the snack itself. So that's a strategy I also like to implement for some people as well, is if they tend to be heavy snackers. Ask yourself, are you really hungry, or you just really want the snack? And a good way to do that is just asking yourself, hey, am I willing to replace this bag of chips with an apple? Or am I willing to replace this bag of chips with a banana? If not, then you're just not hungry. You're just looking for food to eat, okay? Which is okay, but asking yourself these questions, understanding your body, understanding if you're actually hungry or if you're actually craving something is really important, because once you can differentiate that, then you can really control yourself and know if you're overeating. So yeah, that's my strategies on how you can stop yourself from overeating, or if you actually think you're overeating, right? So it all comes down to here, right? You're in control of your body, okay? You're in control of your mind. Sometimes you just kind of have to tell your mind to shut up, right? Sometimes you just have to tell your mind that, hey, I'm in control. I'm not gonna eat this. We already had something good to eat prior, so there's no need for me to eat this anymore. Hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, it would be great if you guys give me a thumbs up. That would be super helpful for the channel and the video itself. And if you want to see more future content like this, where I can help you reach towards your fitness goals, give you guys some fitness tips, and also some foodie videos, make sure you subscribe down below. There's 2 new videos every single week. And if you have any other suggestions or any other questions that I can help answer, you can also comment down below and I'll make a future video for it. Alright, so I hope you guys found this helpful. Thank you again for everyone who's been supporting me and been tuning in onto this channel and watching the videos. I really hope you guys find my videos valuable. Alright, thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.